Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to my channel, Data Driven Decisions. In the last video, I showed a validation dashboard in Looker, and I said I was going to build it in my personal finance ecosystem and show it off in Power BI. So I do have a big chunk of that done, and I'd like to show it. It's a great tool just for me to understand the change in data across time. And that's usually how you spot errors. You know, uh, in the last video, it was about covering your ass, in work, as a business intelligence engineer. There's work that comes before you. Mostly the work that comes from a data engineer. They stand up data pipelines, usually land it in a database for you, the business intelligence engineer, to take over. So that handoff right there is very vital. And things are going to inevitably break with dashboards, and there's various reasons. Sometimes it's your fault, sometimes it's someone else's fault, but you just need to put yourself in a position to answer that question. Where's the problem? Question number one is, who's at fault? Whose line of work? The work of data and analytics is kind of like a stream. We always use the terms upstream and downstream. Data really just flows like water or like electricity from source to target, and then there's just streams in between of connectivity, but it always kind of moves in a linear fashion from source to target. So it's always in a direction. So that's why we say upstream or downstream. And this validation dashboard answers that question. Whether the problem is upstream from me, whether there's a ETL problem, maybe just a bad load, something that the data engineers need to fix, or is it on me? Does the data just look normal and there's just a problem in the BI realm somewhere in the SQL or in the Power BI, somewhere in the semantic model? There's the error. So you need to answer that question. You need to figure out who's got to do the work, who's got to make the fix. You certainly don't want to make a fix when you don't need to make a fix, because then you're just making a bad fix and creating more problems. So, the last thing you want to do is just dive into the code and just start changing things. You need to just sit, calm down, do nothing, and figure out where is the source of the problem. So, think of the stream, think of data moving like a river, and somewhere in the location, the error took place, and it's making everything downstream bad. So you just find the first place where there's an error, and then everything downstream should just fix itself. So you just got to find where the source of the error is, and that's quite a puzzle. You got to know every single segment of the pipeline to figure out where the error is, and you kind of just go through each pipeline. You could, doesn't matter where you start. I think about where is it most likely to happen, and that's where I start. But problems are going to happen, things are going to break, and we're judged by how quickly we can fix it and how efficiently it's done and whether it's right. There's definitely a lot of people who are poor on the validation side, and yes, they can stand up dashboards, but when it comes to getting them right and accurate at all times and being able to update efficiently, they fall apart, and they never reach the finish line. So you really got to get good at this work, understand errors are going to happen, and get on your horse and fix it. Let me share my screen. All right, so here's the validation dashboard I built. So the first part lets you kind of just hone in on a metric. You got the table name and you got the metric name. So within this table, here's all the validation KPIs I created, and it all changes. And this is really the main plot you want to see, just kind of the run over time. Nothing's really changed. Let's find a place where there is a change. So like I did some changing to total spend. So you see with runs ago, there is a difference in the total in this metric right here. I did make some small changes to my spend, so that's just to make this dashboard change a little bit. But yeah, this front part of the dashboard, so the first KPIs are just the metric value. What was the metric value of the prior run, the prior day, and then the prior month? We haven't really gotten there yet. I just created this. And here is the percent differences between this value and the metric value. And this table shows all of the runs for the selected metric and showing all the metrics that go along with it. So just a high level table just to look at each metric, but I think I got some better ways to view it down below. This one kind of just focuses, lets you select runs ago. You know, you're probably going to want to just focus on the one run ago, and this shows every single KPI, and it highlights the run over run, the day over day, and the soon to be month over month differences. You see a significant difference right here, one with average total spend. So you see, for the most part, nothing really changed, but it did in two places. This is the full table, really what the table looks like. It's got, um, all the metrics in it from various tables. It's segmented by runs ago. It also it has a row for every single variable, or for, uh, no, never mind. This is actually what the table is. This is the exact table schema, what it looks like. I mean, it's got some more fields in it, but the same granularity of the table. So that's just a full table dump. All right, now we get the option to select which variable you want to look at. So, the base would be the metric value. And this is a matrix just showing every single KPI by runs ago. Unfortunately, I can't do conditional formatting on this parameter. The metric is changing, and that makes it a parameter. I can't add conditional formatting to it, unfortunately. I really want to add conditional formatting to it so that things pop out. But that's a nice run chart just showing every single change, and I can switch the metric, and there we go, it changes. This is the latest run in a day, so instead of looking at just every run, I just look at the latest run in each day. This lets me see things day over day. I'm going to add a month over month one too. Um, and over here, this lets me just scan all the variables over time. So I wanted to create something to quickly scan the run of everything. So this just panels it. There's 17 metrics for this table, so there's 2 pages. If I go to the other table, there's 6 pages. And this lets me just quickly scan all of the variables, all the runs, to see what's changed. So this is a really cool table. I'll show you it in Power Query. This is what the table looks like. It's got a row for every single metric by run. So for every single run, and for every single metric, there's a row, and then there's a bunch of metrics for metric value prior run, just some percent differences, and then we got some extra fields to the right. But it takes a while to get to a table such as this. This is really a table for data visualization. This is what is known as columnar. When you take the metrics and you transpose them and make it one field, that's turns it into a columnar table. And building such a thing, it definitely took a lot of code. Let me walk through it. All right, so for the monthly finances, step one is to just take a row snapshot, just capture all these KPIs, no, just one row being produced, no dimensions in this table, just one single row of KPI metrics, and I'm just choosing mostly the average across the value. So I just want to see how the average moves. So note that this isn't a KPI that I study for my personal finances. This is just a KPI I study for validation. Next thing I do is I insert that row into the stack table. So there's a stack table that takes every row snapshot and stacks it on top of each other. And then right here, now I'm working with the shell of the table. Now I'm just kind of enriching it, adding new fields. This is where I add all the date information to it, like runs ago within month, runs ago within day. This is where I create every single metric in the table. So this is a very, very long table right here. This is a field for every single metric. Still only has 3 rows in it just for every single run. But now I got every single metric laid out. And then the next step, I just put them in order. And now I got them all in order. And this is the table that I kind of finalize in itself. This is a useful table. It's a long table. It's one of those schemas that are very valuable. But the next thing I do for data visualization is to turn it into a columnar table. And that's where I just kind of take a metric at a time, make it produce its own table, and I stack them on top of each other. So I'm stacking tables or subqueries on top of each other to create something that's not so long or not so wide, but something that's very long, such as this. So now we got not so many variables, something that has a lot of rows. So now instead of 3 rows, now it has uh, maybe 100 rows, 45 rows. So that's really the beauty of transforming the table from wide to long. And I do the same thing with another table, and here's the code to do this, and I do even more metrics. So it's a lot more code. See, as I'm scrolling, this is all the code for the second table. There are 48 metrics that I captured in that one, and same exact code sequence, just different table, but and more KPIs. So I did all this work yesterday. Here's the columnar part. Once again, holy crap, this is a lot of code. I'm doing it for 48 different metrics. So it did take me a lot of time, just a lot of listening to music and just getting the work done. Copy, paste, copy, paste. But you just do the work. You know, this is something you wish you could do in a macro, but you can't in a database. So you just do it the long way. And finally, I get to that final table right here. And then lastly, I stack the 2 tables on top of each other. So it's all the validation across every table is all just in one table right here. And that's a beautiful thing. So now I only have to send one table to Power BI, and it produces this dashboard, which is going to come in handy for me, especially when more data accumulates. Every time the script runs, a validation row is going to be created, so this will grow in size. And I basically just created my own mini, database, a live database that is spitting out rows and creating transactions. So kind of doing what, systems do. I hope you like this. Have a good one.